Hello, my name is Chris Bailey, and I will be doing my oral presentation on Thomas Jefferson's The Notes on the State of Virginia. And the portion I read was an excerpt, and it focused on the separation of state and religion, which was also an overview of like just the separation of government and citizenship in general, you know. Um, And it's important that we go over material like this because, you know, oftentimes many people don't know their constitutional rights. And, you know, a way to generate interest is to go back and, you know, see how hard they fought and how hard they worked to actually put it in place, because this letter was wrote in response to questions from Francois Barbe Marbois, which was he's French, and he's a French diplomat, and he sent out a questionnaire, and this is the response that he got from Thomas Jefferson in 1781, and the Revolutionary War was fought in 1775 through 1783, so you know it's winding down. Thomas Jefferson, he became our president years later in 1801, and he became our third president. But you know, during this time, you know, it's like he's putting on his work boots. He's building the country, and I thought that it related to our text because in previous texts, like the John Smith um reading, it was like the first steps to colonizing the country. And with the text that we read from Mary, it was also like a um, story on like the first days of our country, and this is like us fighting for our independence from our parents, really. So you know, it all tells a story of how our country grew and is growing, and our country is still a relatively young country. So it's important that we go back and read texts like these, so we don't necessarily, so we can learn from our mistakes for one, and don't necessarily repeat the same ones over and over. And a good quote from the text is possessed as they became of the powers of making, administrating, and executing the laws, they shewed equal intolerance in this country with their Presbyterian brethren. And that is basically the beginning of an overview of him saying why the original pilgrims left that country in the beginning to come and form these Americas, and also why they fought for their independence to begin with, because they weren't allowed to openly worship, and people forget that for some reason. And another great quote is reason and free inquiry are the only effectual agents against error. Give loose to them, they will support the true religion by bringing every false one to their tribunal. And what he's basically saying is, tribunal. What he's basically saying is, that, you know, by questioning everything, that the truth will eventually come out. And that's also, similar to some of the things that Benjamin Franklin was saying whenever we read his text. And it's important that we go back and read literature like this, because I mean, times may change and the number of people may change, but the needs of the people will never change. And you know, we have to be able to separate what's important, not only for us living now, but for future generations, because you know, eventually some people want to have a family, and eventually, you know, we need to keep this world ticking for as long as it can tick. And yeah, that's pretty much in general contrast of what the literature was about, was the government that he foresaw for his country and the world that he wanted to see. And it's a good read because you know trying times, so you gotta, I hope I can edit this.